Hello, and welcome to Lesson 8, Part 2 of 4. We're going to move to the actual process of Phase 1 in the review of the chart of accounts. And we are going to do a lot of this work in Excel. The ironworker's standardized chart of accounts is based on the audit report reviews that we have conducted over the years. The chart of accounts was designed to cover most of the typical operations that we see on the audit reports. We recognize that all accounts in our standardized chart of accounts will not necessarily apply to your local union. We are using our standardized chart of accounts as a starting point. During Stage 2 and the Conversion Prep live training session, we will compare your chart of accounts to the ironworker's chart of accounts to identify changes that are needed for your local union. This provides the opportunity to clean up your current chart of accounts. During this process, we will also take a look at your trial balance to identify any balance sheet accounts that are not currently being used. Unique accounts or a group of accounts that are specific for your local will be added. We will also identify accounts on the ironworker's chart of accounts that will not apply to your local union. At the end of the conversion prep sessions, you will end up with a final chart of accounts that has been tailored to your local union. You will work with the finalized chart of accounts during Phase 2. For this section of Lesson 8, we will be working with the ironworker's chart of accounts. From the training site, go to the Downloads link and download this file. Lesson 8, Ironworker Standardized Chart of Accounts. You can print the worksheet in the Account List tab. This spreadsheet is formatted to print on letter-size paper, landscape orientation for 7 pages. You can also, at this time, print the worksheet in the Expenses tab, which is formatted to print on letter-size paper, landscape orientation. For Excel users, you will be able to follow this lesson in Excel to scroll through the worksheet as we go through the various sections. Ideally, if you have a second monitor, you can follow the lesson on one monitor and have the Excel spreadsheet on the other. We will be starting with the Account List tab for this section of the lesson. You can use the spreadsheet to follow along as we go through the various sections of the ironworker's chart of account. In addition, the PowerPoint presentation for this lesson is also available to download and print. So, let's review how the worksheet is formatted. Yellow highlighted accounts are top-level accounts. Sub-accounts would be indented in column C. As you look at the Quickbooks Online chart of accounts, you will notice that there will be several accounts beginning with the word uncategorized. These are default accounts that QuickBooks Online has built into the system. QuickBooks Online will post to these accounts when it cannot determine what category a transaction should be posted to. Account numbers are not assigned to these accounts, and they cannot be deleted from the chart of accounts. There are 4 QuickBooks default accounts that we have included in this spreadsheet. The first is on line 18, uncategorized asset, line 29, opening balance equity, line 77, uncategorized income, and then line 178, uncategorized expense. Now, going back up to the top, we have accounts that are highlighted in blue, the first of which is line 3, bank accounts, and the second is line 20, credit card liability account. These accounts will be actually added to your chart of accounts when we set up your bank and credit card data feeds. So we have included several of the QuickBooks default accounts as well as the bank and credit card account fees on this chart of accounts for illustration purposes. Column headers A through E may be referred to during the lesson. Line 6 is the actual column description. So in column A, we have added line numbers as additional reference points to assist in locating a specific account that is referred to during this training lesson or during the live training sessions. Column B, account numbers. Column C, account name. Column D, account type. And then column E, comments. If you are using Excel to follow through this lesson, you will have the ability to take notes as you follow along. We have also added specific notes in this column for further information. Also in this column, we may have a code PH. This stands for placeholder accounts. We have added these as an indicator as to where you would add a specific account. Our first placeholder account is on line 16, 1261515 investments. This is a placeholder account that will be able to be renamed later in the phase 1 process. The investment placeholder account on line 16 is where you would add the first investment account. If there are additional investment accounts, you would add these below the initial placeholder account. Okay, we're going to move now to balance sheet accounts. All chart of accounts listings begin with balance sheet accounts. The ironworkers chart of accounts, balance sheet accounts, are listed from lines 7 through 29. During our conversion prep session, we will look at your chart of accounts and take a look at your trial balance. We might see balance sheet accounts that have immaterial balances. Debbie and I have had various discussions with local staff, and we often hear comments like, "I haven't used this account at all since I've been working at the local. I have no idea what this account is there for." If a balance sheet account has an immaterial balance, auditors don't usually take the time to research the account history or to recommend action to write off these balances. For fiscal year 2020, we urge you to work with your auditors to review these accounts and consider writing off balances as a fiscal year 2020 transaction. If you are able to write off these balances, we do not have to include these accounts in your new Quickbooks online account. Also, during the process, we will identify any accounts that are unique or specific to your local union. We will also identify accounts that are listed on the ironworkers chart of accounts that won't apply to your local union. These accounts will be rendered inactive during phase 2. Now, there are a couple of specific accounts that I want to call your attention to. The first being on line 15, account 1251410, U.S. Treasuries. This is a separate reporting line on the LM2, and we have included this account in our chart of accounts. The second account, line 29, retained earnings. When we set up your beginning balances on your new Quickbooks Online account, we will assist you in adding your beginning balances for balance sheet accounts. For retained earnings, we will enter the unaudited retained earnings balance from your current accounting system into the Quickbooks Online account. Later on, we will adjust retained earnings to equal the audited retained earnings balance at 6/30/2020. We're going to take a look at some examples for balance sheet account changes. Your local union has a fixed asset account on your trial balance called computer equipment. It would be added as a sub-account in the fixed assets section that starts on line 7. You would add a row in between furniture and equipment and automobile. 1271618 would be the account number that will be assigned to computer equipment. Your local union investments are in mutual funds. We would rename our placeholder account 1261515 on line 16 with the investment name ABC Mutual Fund. The local has a car loan for the union vehicle assigned to the business manager. We would rename the placeholder account 1312300, which now says loans payable, with the actual loan account name that you want to indicate this car loan. So in this example, I have replaced loans payable with new bank car loans. This is the end of Lesson 8, Part 2 of 4.